You probably understand yourself very well. You know why you overthink. You know where your anxiety comes from. You know which emotional patterns were shaped in your childhood. You've read the books, you've watched the videos, you've connected the dots, and yet nothing really changes. You still react the same way under pressure. You still feel stuck in the same emotional loops. You still return to the same thoughts, the same fears, the same internal tension. This isn't because you're lazy, and it isn't because you lack discipline. It's because there is a fundamental misunderstanding about how psychological change actually happens. Most people are taught to believe that insight leads to transformation, that once you understand yourself deeply enough, your behavior will naturally follow. But insight alone does not create change. Understanding is cognitive. Change is emotional and physiological, and those two systems operate on completely different timelines. Modern psychology content has unintentionally created an illusion, the illusion that self-awareness equals healing. We learn the language of trauma. We learn attachment styles. We learn about anxiety, coping mechanisms, emotional regulation, nervous systems. We collect explanations, and the more we understand, the more we expect ourselves to be different. But instead of progress, many people feel even more stuck. Because knowledge creates expectation, and expectation creates pressure. You don't just feel anxious anymore. You know you're anxious. You know why. You know what it means. You know what you should be doing instead. That gap between insight and action becomes its own source of distress. Self-awareness turns into self-surveillance. You start monitoring yourself constantly, your reactions, your thoughts, your emotions. And this monitoring keeps the nervous system activated. Because being watched, even by yourself, that does not feel safe. The brain does not prioritize happiness. It prioritizes predictability. From a neurological perspective, a familiar emotional state is safer than an unfamiliar one, even if that familiar state is uncomfortable or painful. Anxiety that you recognize feels safer than calm you don't trust. Emotional chaos that you know feels safer than stability that feels empty or unfamiliar. So when change appears, the nervous system does not interpret it as opportunity. It interprets it as risk. This is why change feels threatening. Not because you don't want it, but because your body experiences it as uncertainty. And uncertainty is processed as danger. So even when your conscious mind wants growth, your nervous system resists it. Not out of weakness, but out of protection. This resistance is often misunderstood as self-sabotage. But it's not sabotage, it's regulation. Your system is trying to keep you within emotional territory it understands, even if that territory hurts. This is also why overthinking exists. Overthinking is not confusion, it is control. When emotions feel unsafe, the brain shifts into analysis mode. Thinking becomes a way to stay engaged without being emotionally exposed. You explain instead of feel. You analyze instead of experience. You intellectualize instead of tolerate. Overthinking gives the illusion of movement, but nothing actually changes. Because thinking about emotions is not the same as allowing them. Real change does not happen at the level of explanation. It happens at the level of emotional tolerance, at the level where the body learns slowly that a new state is not dangerous, and that learning cannot be rushed. This is why advice rarely works. Advice assumes that behavior is driven by logic. But behavior is driven by emotional memory, by body-based associations, by subconscious threat prediction. You don't avoid change because you lack information. You avoid it because your nervous system associates change with discomfort, loss, or instability. Until that association softens, insight remains theoretical. This is also why many highly intelligent, self-aware people feel stuck longer than others. They understand too much, too quickly. But their nervous system hasn't caught up. So they live in a constant state of internal pressure, trying to force emotional systems to obey cognitive conclusions, and emotional systems don't respond to force. They respond to safety. This is where most self-help content quietly fails. It speaks to the thinking mind, it offers strategies, routines, habits, and reframes, but it rarely addresses the emotional environment in which those behaviors would need to exist. So people try to apply tools in a system that is still in defense mode, and when it doesn't work, they blame themselves. Calm psychology content works for a different reason. Not because it teaches more, but because it regulates. Slow pacing reduces threat. Simple language reduces cognitive load. One idea at a time reduces overwhelm. This style mirrors the internal state required for change. No urgency, no pressure, no demand to become someone else. Just space. And space is what allows the nervous system to soften. When nothing is demanded, resistance relaxes. When nothing is forced, capacity expands. This is why people often feel better after being understood. Not fixed, not corrected, not improved, just understood. Real change is rarely dramatic. It doesn't arrive as a breakthrough. It doesn't feel like becoming a new version of yourself. It feels quieter than expected. Almost disappointing to the mind that wanted a clear moment of transformation. Change begins when emotions are allowed without being solved, when silence is tolerated instead of filled, when discomfort is met without explanation, when identity loosens instead of being reinforced. This feels deeply uncomfortable to the analytical mind because it removes control, and control feels safer than uncertainty. Most people are not stuck because they lack effort. They are stuck because they are applying cognitive solutions to emotional problems. Trying to think their way out of a state their body doesn't feel safe leaving. That creates friction, and friction creates exhaustion. Pressure does not create change. Pressure activates resistance. Expectation tightens the system. Self-improvement becomes another performance, and the nervous system responds by holding on even tighter. The paradox is simple but difficult to accept. Change begins when the demand for change softens, when you stop using insight as a weapon against yourself, when understanding becomes compassion instead of urgency. You don't need another explanation. You don't need another framework. You don't need to understand yourself better. You need less internal pressure, less monitoring, less self-correction, less expectation. That's when the system relaxes, and relaxed systems are capable of change. Psychological growth is not about pushing forward, it's about reducing internal resistance. It's about creating enough safety for the body to let go of patterns it no longer needs. That process is slow, quiet, unimpressive, but it lasts. You don't change by forcing yourself forward. You change when your nervous system no longer feels the need to hold you back. And that shift happens not through effort, but through allowance. That is why insight alone doesn't change you, but safety does. And safety is built gradually, patiently, and without pressure.